Hey, I'm Akash Kshatriya. I'm 26 years old working professional who actually decided to take a leap and follow a different route. So working for 7.5 years, started feeling about that I should do something of my own. And that is why I have been bringing up this new podcast thing for the first time ever as a working professional. The podcast with one of my guests, one of my friend, Miss Danielle. So she's from England. She is a cafe owner, a restaurant owner, and also she is a psychologist. So this podcast is all about dealing with the psychology. So I have picked up a subject which is like very near to me because I've worked with like 22 plus companies which are not in the book, but yes, I have worked with 22 startups. And because I was with a different mindset, having a different dream, having a different approach, having a different perspective, you know I have seen in 7.5 years how industries work, how startups actually work, what kind of work ethics which are required. So based on that, uh, there are some teachings which I wanted to take forward, and those teachings, I think these are very relatable to every working professional. Specifically, if you're a job seeker or a working professional, this podcast is going to help you a lot in terms of knowing about what kind of work ethics are allowed, what changes needs to be done, how employees actually feel while they're working, what kind of problems and challenges they face, how you can take decisions, how you can manage your work-life balance, what is work-life balance actually in general. So these are some very important questions which I ask myself, that as a working professional, as an individual, what I am here to contribute. For the first time I'm doing this, I'm recording any podcast, but I was fortunate enough that I've worked very long and I have some real experiences which I definitely wanted to share from the platform. And if you like that, I will be the most happiest person in the world, because that will help me to know that whether I'm going right or wrong. So this podcast will going to not only publish on different sites but also on the channel of World's Mayor Experience, which we are a part of as a community. So I'm putting my episode over there. So in the name of like Joshua, I would like to thank him because he's the real leader behind this podcast. And you're gonna see a lot of things, a lot of new things upcoming after this. I would like you to know that I'm just introducing myself from this podcast, that who I am and what I can solve. Please follow me on LinkedIn, because my content is specifically on LinkedIn for past 1 year. I have shared a lot of details about working professional, how you should work, how you should deal with your situational based tasks, how you can complete that, how can you become problem solver. Thank you in advance for giving time to watch this podcast, and your valuable feedback on the comment section would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And we already had a very, very good quality conversation, but unfortunately universe didn't want it to get that recorded, and that is why we are here again. And again, we are going to have some different questions for you, because it would be same again. But first I wanted to ask you, how are you doing today?
I'm well, I'm good, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic from the last time. So Daniel, last time when we spoke, right, we spoke a lot about the working people, right, in the world who are different. And you know what? Yesterday, I had an one incident with one person who just left his job in the middle of the month.
Okay.
And what happened was, it's again like a psychological factor. I wanted to ask you. I wanted to start with that question. I know you must be the right person to answer that. So what happened was that he resigned off from the company, and he was on the pool from the very long time. He was not in the project, right? He was outside from the project. He was in a pool for a very long time. And then he interviewed himself for other companies. He got selected. He got the high raise for like almost 4.5 years, right? And now he decided to like resign. So what happening is that the company is not letting him off, and they're saying that it will take at least 3 months, right? But the person has now resigned, and he has got the opportunity, he has got the another opportunity. Now he's in stuck in between. in this situation, right? He is actually stuck in between in this situation. So I wanted to ask you how and what kind of advice you wanted to give to those people who are actually, serving notice period and going through this kind of thing, were changing their endeavors from the previous company, going into a new setup, or exploring new setup, how they should move on, how they should take this kind of things forward, how they should work so that they can be legally be compliant, and also they can enhance their productivity, or also they can take another opportunities without having any hazards.
Okay, sorry, Akash, you cut out for a little short period of time, so I missed a part of what you were saying. But what I did hear is that there's somebody that you knew, or that you know, had a job, and they weren't getting a lot of work. Is that what you meant? So they weren't getting.
Yes, I'm saying that he is actually resigned from his current company. Right now, he
Okay.
has an offer for the another company, right, which is in immediate offer. But the current company which he is in, he has already resigned, but the company has not accepted the resignation letter, and they're saying that you have to wait for more 90 days
Okay.
to get out from here, to get the exit, safe exit, and then you can start working off for the next company, right? But he has already got the offer, and this offer is huge in terms of monetary, in terms of like position, in terms of good raise, in terms of good opportunity. So it's good for him. Now he's stuck in between these because of these rules and regulation. So what kind of advice do you want to give to the, these person? Like, what's advice for you? Like,
Okay, I think so he would have, I suppose he'd have been aware that he has to give amount of time notice, because I suppose when you start a job, or if you get a contract, it'll say you need to give a certain amount of notice, because otherwise you can leave a company in a lurch, can't you? If you're needed, and that's the requirements you signed up to. Again, it's the agreements that you have in place before you take on these roles. So I feel that it's a difficult situation, but he should have told his new employer, I think there would have been an option to have said, how much notice have you got to give your previous, your current employer? So I think that, if he's made that commitment, then
yeah.
I know it doesn't always go like that, because people fall out, different things happen. But I suppose the right thing would be to do, is to fulfill, the notice as you agreed to at the beginning of the role. But, people do different things. Some people go off the sick, don't they? And do other things that, not morally right, but, they do. This is what people do. But, yeah, I think, I don't know the reasons why he left his job, or whether he'd, spoke to his company about trying to improve his current role, or I don't know the ins and outs, but from what,
yeah. So it's totally that it's totally dependent on like the current role you're in, how you're connected to the person, if you're properly connected to them or not, right? Based on that, you have to take the further decision. Yeah, it's great. It's great. So basically, for like those for this basic podcast, what we are starting is that we wanted to educate people about the psychological impact on their working lives onto their personal life. So this is what our like main agenda is. And your work life is directly proportionate to your personal life, right? Somehow. And we all are going through a lot, especially in this generation, right? We have different work culture, and we are like globally so much connected. And now different diversities have different takes to give, and not all takes are being taken forward. Some are being diminished also, some are taking forward which is right or which is wrong. So the main focus behind this podcast is that we wanted to embrace the psychological importance of in a workplace. So this podcast is totally about for the working professional, not just for the working professional, but about every person who's working out and who's taking care of his family and personal life. They should hear about this podcast. So like my first question, where again I wanted to start with, is for you is that I wanted to know, uh, like for a person, what is the right time to decide that I should leave this job? I should leave this role that I am in.
I think some people outgrow roles, don't they? So sometimes if they feel like they're not advancing in their career or in their position they're in, then they will look to go elsewhere. I think it's always good because there's so many different factors to a job: the people you work with, your pay, you know, there's so many different factors. But I think that I think people generally know in themselves when they've outgrown a position, or you know, depends if another opportunity's come along. And it's just looking at the positives for the individual, isn't it? It's about the individual.
Yeah.
They're the one that's got to be satisfied, because again, that if you're happy in your job, increased productivity, a better happy life at home. It's linked. Everything's linked.
Yeah. So basically, it's like, if I have to ask you, like for you, what's that reason you wanted to, you know, where you decide that, yeah, now I'm freaked out, I should leave this place?
Yeah, I think, I've had loads of different jobs, but I think, see, I do a lot of meditating, or, you know, a lot of praying. And I think for me,
yeah, that's great.
I go inside and think, am I happy here? Can anything be better? Can I see improvement? And if I don't think there is going to be, then I would look elsewhere. Of course, I don't like upsetting the people I work with, but it's so important that you're happy as an individual, because that affects everything you do in life. It affects others at work.
Yeah.
I said it affects your family. It affects everything, every relationship. And if I don't feel I'm doing, you know, a company's getting enough out of me, then yeah, and I don't feel. So if I'll give you an example. So I've been in a job when I've been sitting there bored, and I'm thinking, oh, this is not good for me, and I feel they're not. I'm doing them a discredit because I'm not doing enough work for them. And I think that was a big factor for me. I was in a job role, there wasn't enough work, I was bored, and I felt like I'm using this company's money, and I've got nothing else to do. I'd done all my jobs, and for me, I got bored and I couldn't see a progression. So yeah, I moved on. And I think there's so many different factors. Like we could talk about this all day, but
like for the working profession, like if you I have read this quote, you know, I read this quote so many times, that if you getting good money from somewhere, you should stick. If you're not getting good money but you're learning a lot, you should stick. But if both is not there, you should leave. So it's all about, like, it should be at least one thing to take out, right? Whether it is like materialistic, or whether it is like the skills which you wanted to learn so that you can use it ahead in your endeavors, right? There should be at least one for like pursuing your career and pursuing like job. If there's nothing, I think that should be the time where you should, you know, have this bell in taking decisions. So the next question which I wanted to ask, because this question you answered very correctly and very smartly. So I wanted to know that why is it for so many people it's very difficult to them to take any decision, whether it is like for the working life or for the personal life? I see people, they hassle a lot, they think a lot, they, you know, wait a lot to take decision, and they do not take it just because they wanted to stay into that comfort zone. They are just afraid of getting out of that comfort zone. So I wanted to ask you about this personally, that, you know, what steps you can take in your life, that taking decision is very important, and how you can take that decisions. Like, do you plan something, or it's just like push, it's happened?
I think for me, if you've been unhappy for a while and things aren't changing, and even though it's so uncomfortable, I think you just have to make that decision quick. And sometimes we're going to make the wrong decisions, like that happens in life, but you've just got to go quick. Like if you know nothing's going to change, you've just got to make a quick decision. And that's hard to do. But like I said, you may get it wrong, you may get it right. But if you've been uncomfortable and feeling, you know, upset or stuck, especially the word stuck, if you feel stuck in a position and there's no progression, that's when you need to move. And it's hard and uncomfortable. That is the time, they say, where the magic happens. That's when you have to move.
Yes, totally.
And also,
I also believe that.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, I've made some really wrong decisions, but I've learned from them. You know, life's a journey, and you have to learn from your decisions and move on. But I think when you do feel really uncomfortable, that's the time to move.
Yeah, totally get that. I totally resonate with it. So, like, any example you wanted to share, like as you said that the wrong decision. I'm not. I don't want to talk about the right ones, because yes, the right ones are those who have me to success. But because and success, I've seen that success comes with ego and a lot of things which are not good for growth. So I'm not blaming any person for it, but it is right. Success is comes with ego sometimes. So that if you're successful, the ego will in place. But if you're like falling down, if you're falling down, you'll learn a lot. So my next question is about that. When it is about a failure or like a positive, so you have taken decisions. What decisions have gone wrong, and how did you like rectified it for the future purpose? Because it would be very helpful for the people.
Okay. So, I've gone wrong so many times. So I've got a restaurant, as we've spoke about, Cash, and I've had it for a couple of
Mhm.
years.
Yes.
And I've took on different people. Even though I've looked at their CV and thought, oh, it's not that great, for what I'm looking for, but I need someone desperately. So I've reacted
Mm-hmm.
out of fear very quickly. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
always worked out for the best, but sometimes you're in a
Yes.
difficult decision. So with a restaurant, the heart of your business lies in your kitchen. And
Um,
if you haven't got that chef, or if that chef's not performing and they're not very happy and you're trying everything and it's not working, then you have to make a decision of finding someone else or sticking with what you've got. And it's very hard. Like I have to make a lot of
yeah.
these decisions a lot. And so sometimes I've reacted out of my emotion, and that's not good. Sometimes you have to sit on
Yes.
something for a little while and then proceed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I've made loads of mistakes. There's so many. I've made a lot, but I've learned from them. I've learned a lot. So I've gave chefs free reign over a kitchen and an ordering, and thought, oh, I trust these people because I want to see the good in everyone. And they've tried their best, but it's ended up costing me a lot more. And it's where I've let control go. And like, we want to trust people, but some things you have to still monitor and keep an eye on as a manager. You can't just expect, people to know what you want as a business, and without explaining from the start what you want and everything that you need. But because this was a new venture for me, I was quite clueless to begin with. I'd worked in a restaurant when I was younger, but my background
Yeah.
was in
Yeah.
psychology with people, not food and ordering. And I think where I'd made a mistake is I'd not laid down what was needed in the business, in the restaurant, what was really going on, not honest about the finances and things like that. And I think that's where I went wrong, is not putting in the things I'm expecting from an employer, what they're expecting from me from the start.
Totally get it. So,
And
like,
that
what happens when you have taken any decision for your team as a leader, right? As you said that you're managing your own uh, things. So, and if you're acting as a leader, right? So when you're acting alone, it's a completely different scenario. And when you're acting as a leader and your one decision went wrong, because I have been also there, I've seen things that as a leader, if you went wrong, it does not only impact you, but your whole team, your whole business, your whole reputations of work. To do it again and again and again. So as a leader, if sometimes, yeah, might be because we are also humans, we are not like robots, so we can make mistakes. So it's like I wanted to know as a leader that when you get wrong, right, when you are actually you realize later that you were wrong, so what would you do with your team to having this come up with some different ideas, or maybe like you accept it? What is your take on that?
if something's wrong, I think, well, what have I done wrong here? What did I not do? And it's looking like what I've done wrong. I have to look at myself and what I've done. And like I said, I think we've spoke about this before. Someone once told
Yes.
me, do not focus on just like a game of golf. Don't just focus on the ball, which is like the person. Focus on the whole course. So you have to look at your structures and what's in place, and that's the most important thing, not just the person. So if something's going wrong, say there's too much, I don't know, they're ordering too much food, it's not about them, it's about, well, what structures have I got in place that they need to follow to make sure this doesn't happen. You know, it's not the individuals, it's the structures above that are wrong.
It's a structure. Yeah.
Like
Totally.
instead of focus on the individual. Another example, just a simple one, timesheets. I used to let people just put their hours down and not check, and you know, there can be errors made, but then sometimes that can impact me because there's hours put on that have been put on wrong and I'm losing more money or something like that. So
No, I get
like
it.
the structure is not in place to say, you know, if you check in at this time and then someone has to sign. So it's not the individual's fault. It's my structure.
It's a structure.
Yeah, so I
So
think that
it's
goes with many things in business. You know, like people like to know where they stand, what's expected, but it's very also important that their feedback and they've got influence in what's happening as well, and that's so important because you're a
yes,
team. We're a team. It's not just me. We're a team. We all
yeah.
work together, help each other because we're all going for the same goal. Because if I'm doing better, they can be doing financially better. You know, because I like to bring people up with me. That's what it's all about, helping others.
Yes, totally get it. Because, you know, especially I've seen people, I've seen startup founders, especially in India, because India is like a huge population state. It's almost like covers half of the world now. So it's like 150 crore people are living here. And it's a very big place. And there are so many founders which I see on daily basis. I talk to them. Uh, I, I'm sure about this that like 60% of the business CEOs, like or like a startup founders, they are very full of their head. You know, they are so full that, you know, they have achieved something. Because, you know, when you start something of your own, it gives you a kind of you know, that yes, I have done something in my life, right? That feeling comes in. But because when you start your own company, you put your money, you put resources, you put people into the place so that they can work for you, right? So that they can work for your business and they can make money out of it, and you can also make money out of it. But this whole structure, as you said, just said the whole structure, right? But when the one person who is leader, uh, which we are calling as a boss, so what is that take? I especially seen people doing this mistake a lot in their initial days of startup. So what they do is that when they start something, uh, for an example, if a manager, if a person comes in and he gives some very important ideas about a particular business, and whether it is about a risk or whether it is about an opportunity. So a new person comes in and he shares those ideas, right? What happens is that as a leader, people should have to listen to this, you know, feedbacks. But what they do is that they tell people that you have not started your own company. Why are you putting your head into it? Do you understand business, how business works? So it's for them, like 60% of the people I'm talking about here is for them. It's like everything which is out of their vision, they are not going to accept it.
Right.
And it's a fact. I've seen that. I've seen it's a very harsh fact that if for the people who is managing a lot of people as a boss or as a leader, if something comes into the table which is out of their vision, right, which is out of their sight, which is out of their own psychological behavior or
Yeah.
own psychological presence, so they neglect it at the very first rule, that this is not going to work and this is just a stupid idea, another stupid idea, or things like that. What do you want to say, and how do you want to perpetuate this situation?
I think that the leader who comes in or the manager needs to give a reason for where these ideas or changes have come from. If they can say, well, this is going wrong, so we've
Oh,
got to try something different, what do you think? But it's just being honest and transparent about what the problems are. Have they got any suggestions? What's worked else? And the reason behind. Because if I come in and said,
yeah,
we're doing this, you're going to be like, well, why are we doing that? You haven't been here before, and you're coming here telling us what to do. But if
yeah,
you're explaining, this is the position we're in, this is why I've come in, this is what happened, and long as people can understand the rationale for these, you know, new ideas or perspectives, then that's when people can make progress, you know. And also, as a manager, it's important, without the people that work, if you're the owner, you know, that without the people that work for you, you're nothing without them, you know. And you're all part of a course, aren't you? Like, I keep going back to this golf course terminology, but
Yeah.
everyone is just as important, no matter what their role is. You know, in a business, everyone is just as important, but everybody needs to be on the same page. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's important to have regular meetings. And I remember telling you before that, you know, when I was studying my psychology and working in different placements, we've had peer supervision, group supervision, and we'd all come together, see what's going wrong, what's right. And it's just about being transparent with the people that you
Transparency
work
is very
with.
important.
Yeah, because people need to know where these ideas have come from and why, and that, you know, where these ideas have derived from. Do you know what I mean? And there is normally a rationale behind it, but you've got to be transparent with your staff so they feel part of your team, and they've got to feel like they've got some influence over it as well. Because especially if they've been in the business years and then some new person's come in, they get used to doing what they're doing. So long as the manager can explain where the reasons are coming from, can we try it? If it doesn't work, and you think it's a team effort, that's so important.
Yes,
Working
absolutely. So it's as easy as that. That if you're a leader, the leader is not about himself. The actual leader is about the others. Right? You don't think about yourself first. You think about yourself at the very last, after your company, after your business. If you wanted to become a leader, so this is for all the leaders. So with due respect, I want to say that if you're a leader, if you consider yourself as a leader, please take people not for granted, but take their valuable feedbacks, take them in, join, let them feel comfortable, right? This is what, as a leader, that the first priority for a leader is that let them people speak, let the ideas flows out, let them feel comfortable, let them feel that yes, they're also invited, they're also like encouraged, you know, because I've seen a lot of people have a very rare talents, right? They can come up something very out of the box. And you know, as a leader, I was always being get bullied by my teammates as well. So I'm the kind of person who's very chill with my teammates. I'm motivate them. They make jokes around me. They are like fun around me. When I come, they speak to me very openly. There's not just like I'm their boss or things like that. You know, they are so friendly with me that they can share anything. It's not just about the work. It's just about their personal life as well, right? So when this kind of a bonding comes in, and when they trust you with your work, with your personality, and with the kind of intent that you have, and for that, I think that the purpose is very important. Because if you're a leader, you should have a purpose. And the purpose should not be you. It should be something else, right? It should not be us. It should be something else. So for the leaders, it's very important now that we should have to work on these attributes psychologically if you wanted to grow. So these are some very strong point which you have just like mentioned. And transparency, it's very important. So it's the next question which I wanted to ask is, again, it's not about the leadership, but it is more about the other person. Okay, now we have talked about the leaders. Now we wanted to talk about the peers, the candidates, right? The newbies, the freshers, right? We just started out. They're young, they're vibrant, they have full of energy, right? What kind of advice do you have for any fresher who has started a work culture in a corporate sector?
Okay, so they need to be counted as part of the team. You know, they can be young, have fresh ideas, and all their opinions should be valid just as much. You know, long as, you know, they're shown the ways that to do things, you know, long as they're safe, but they need to be encouraged as well, because these young people are the ones that, you know,
can do a lot of mistakes.
Of course.
So
I've had young people working for me, and you know, they've made mistakes, but they learn from, say, look, you know, we all make mistakes, and thus we're always going to make mistakes, but we've just got to learn from them. That's so important. And also, I think you've got to show good values and morals to yourself. So as a leader, like if I'm turning up late for work, I'm not going to expect all my team to turn up on time if I'm now turning up late. So yeah, you've got to practice what you preach. And you know, I know everyone's different. For me personally, if I go to work, I'll help get on with things as well and help as part of a team. You know, we all do different things, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if I'm just sitting there and someone's got a bit more washing up to do, then I'll go help them, you know, like, because we're a team and we're all working together to build a business. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's so important. But you've got to show, you know, that they look up to you as such, don't they? People look up to the people who are, you know, have been doing a job for years, or yeah, or been there a long time, or even the managers. So it's really important that, yeah, you practice good morals so that you can show that this
Yes.
is what we do.
Yes. Then, you know, that remind me of a one scenario, you know, where things was like that. So I'm into a like tech field where we made solutions, digital solutions, right? So there was an issue with an app which was having a debugging issue. So there was a one fresher who was building that application for our client, and because he made that one mistake, which was less coming in front, I would say that was not that big on that time, right? And it was not considerable, and it was not shown on the application, it was not seen on the application, so it was that kind of error.
Okay.
And because he was very fearful at this time that he had made some mistake, and next day the live was already out. On that day nobody noticed that error, the client also didn't notice, nobody noticed that. And after nobody noticed that, he was like, yeah, I made that, nobody has asked me anything. But after like a month of doing a lot of work into that particular application, and then that bug has take us back 1 month again, and we have to start 1 month again, right? So I seen that just because of a fear of, you know, being not considered, you're not just you know, diminishing your team spirit, but economically or on the revenue side or that like a rework, because in IT sectors there's a lot of money spent on rework. Every year people spend 70% of their business in just rework, because one thing they're doing it again and again and again and again. Because if you fall to the one mistake, that is going to be in the end, that one mistake is still there, you can't be go ahead, because application doesn't work like that, it works on the serious basis, right? If you wanted to make it work, you have to fix those small bugs and small issues as well. So for the freshies especially, as you said, that, you know, they should be encouraged, and if you're not encouraging them, that are going to cost you a lot, and not
Yeah.
in just terms of uh, the money, but the reputation as well, because your reputation is on stake. You're working with a client, you're working in a close collaboration system where you have to give deadlines and you have all things at your head. So it's very important to have communication with your team, to keep your team very active during this time.
Yeah, they need to feel safe, you know, that they can express if something's wrong or they've done something wrong. They need to feel safe to express that. That's really important.
Okay. Mhm. So, Daniel, like if you move ahead, I have one questions which I wanted to ask. I will ask that later, but we have to keep moving. So for that, my next question is from the diversity, right? How do you see diverse culture fit into a corporate place? How do you see, like, for an example, today, in like today's generation, specifically from last 3 or 4 years, like from COVID, I've seen a lot of people, you know, coming from different places and working all together. So basically, previously it was like, yes, maybe from a different continent or a neighborhood continent, but now it's like more versatile. I'm seeing people from UK, they're coming in Dubai, and they're working in Dubai, they're living in UAE. So they have to deal with a lot of things, right? They have to deal with the climate change, they have to deal with a lot of different culture. So how do you see this whole picture of diversity into a corporate place? Do you think that this is a good idea, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is, because you learn different
Mhm.
things from different people, from different
Yeah,
cultures. I think it's
yeah.
so important. Yeah, I agree with that. And I
Okay.
think for different companies that work all different places in the world as well, and I think them all meeting together are seeing what works for one team, what doesn't for another. That's really important as well, because you can learn different things off each other.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Because see, I totally agree with you on this point that the diversity brings new ideas, brings new growth, sustainability, and but What happens is the reality check, right? I'm giving you here is that, for example, a person who's living in US, now he has shifted to Dubai, right? For example, from UK, from England, now he's shifted to Dubai, and which I've seen a lot of people have shifted in Dubai for the work reasons. A lot of my friends are working in Dubai, which they used to be in UK and USA, right?
Okay.
Now they are working in Dubai, and um, they're not being that much adaptable with the diversity, right? Because this is the reality check. I know that it's very good to have diversity in at
Mm.
your side, but that the reality check is that the different kind of people comes together and sit at a one place. It's like um, fixing a I would say a time bomb, because in reality, because you are a complete different person, I may be a complete different person. So what happens is this is why we are having this topic, that uh, if two different minds are together, how they can sit on the same ground and have conversation forward, just like we are having now. Because we have different roots, but still that we are that matured enough to understand the one same goal which we are into. But for so many people, this is not the case. They are not, I would say, enlightened, but they are not more focused or conscious about this particular thing. What they think is that they're following some culture for a very long time. Now they have to change it, right? And they're not comfortable with it. They think that this is wrong. I should not be changing myself. And
Mm.
then they are asked to change themselves. So what is your take on that?
Well, I suppose if you go to a company and you know the way they are, the way it works, because you want to find out more about that company and those things
Yes.
that don't sit. Before I go to another, if I'm going to a job role, say I went and got another job, I'd want to know the morals of the company, the values, what's expected, and if that don't align with me, then I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't go for that job. If I moved,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? You have to, if that's the
Yeah.
company's, what is that, values, then, and this is what they do, then that is what they do. You can maybe try and influence it and have your say, but it ultimately depends on the company, does it? And doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, totally get it. Totally get it. So because it's all about, like, it's a choice. First of all, you should have to research about a new opportunity or going into a different country. You should
Yeah.
check, because spontaneity is good, but it should be a calculated risk, which I guess you mean to
Yeah.
say that.
You
Yeah,
need to
it should
check
be.
about the company or find out, don't you?
Yeah,
Like you always do your
yeah,
research
yeah,
on most things, isn't it? Before you buy a product. Oh, is that, like a
yeah.
raincoat, is it waterproof? Well, it's a similar concept, but to a
Yes.
larger degree. But it's the same as, like, it doesn't even have to be like cultural. So in like the hospitals, we have multidisciplinary meetings. So you'll have a different professions will come together. So you get the social workers, the psychologists, the general doctors. You'll have the care workers, and they'll all be coming. If you're talking about one patient, they'll all be coming at different angles, depending on their knowledge and what they think's
Yeah.
best. So it's a similar situation, but they'll come together and see the best option. But it's a similar thing. It's similar.
Yeah, totally get that. And I totally agree with you on this. So, like, based on that, now that we have talked about the, like, real scenarios, so before I ask my next question, I wanted to ask, what would you choose between these two, right? Do you choose sustainability, or do you choose exponential growth?
Or change what? Sorry, what was that?
Okay. I'm asking, do you, like, for you, what do you prefer? Do you prefer sustainability for the long term, or do you believe in exponential growth in short
Mm.
term? Or maybe you can say, like, can go long term, but in real, it's doesn't. Whether you can be sustainable or whether you can be exponentially grow.
Explain that a bit further, Akash. I'm a bit lost with that question. Give me an example of what you mean.
Okay. So, for example, we were using gasoline for years, right? And the demands are very high. Right now, the economy is shifting from gasoline to renewable energies, right? To
Mhm.
electric cars, electric motors, and things like that, right? Before, we were using those resources, and we used that a lot in last hundred of decades,
Yeah.
after especially like bikes and motorcycles that came on. And right now, we are lacking for those resources, and that's why the prices are very high. right? So for you, like for the resource, if you are talking about the resources, so do you believe in sustainability, that taking things for the long term, or do you believe in, if you have a resource, use it now, use it fully, and we'll see that what will happen in future?
Yeah, I do with sustainability. I do think that's important, but yeah, I think it's for the the environment we've got to protect. If you mean it in that sense, do you mean it in that
Yeah.
sense? Sustainability is in for the environment,
Well,
or
because
just
see, it can happen in your like working profession as well. Because some people are into a business. Okay, for an example, if a leader, if a startup founder, right, he's doing a lot of business from his whatever, like chef or things like that in food industry and things like that. So what he's doing is that once he started making money, right, he started making a lot of business out of it. Now he is expanding his franchises into different four hotels. Now he wanted to expand it more and more and more and more and more, right? So for you specifically, like that sustainability, that I should be having this one place now and run this for a long time, or do you or are you a kind of a person who is like, I wanted to open this more, I wanted to have this franchising to different state and different countries and things like that?
yeah, I want to grow because I think you can give people more jobs, and I want to grow. That's my goal, and take more people with me. Of course, I want to grow. I think that's important,
Yeah.
but I know we're all different, but that's important for a human, isn't it, as well, to keep growing, having more goals. And
Yeah. But I've seen this one fact, you know that when you're focused on the growth, right, uh, you're not aligning your resources at the same speed, right? And where the adulteration comes in. So you started making your practices, your process a little bit more weaker because you have to manage the demand. Right? Because when you expand, so you're not expanding just business, you're expanding demand, you're expanding service. So that service comes with expectations. And for like a two-wheeler bicycle, it can go off any road in highway. But if you have a truck, you have to be very careful buying a truck. So it's just a basis on an example. So at what cost do we think that the growth is good?
well, I am for growth, so that's hard to say that, because I think there's always problems whether you stick where you are. There's always going to be problems, and business is
Yeah,
about solving problems no matter what scale.
problem.
Whether you're not busy enough, then how can I
Yeah.
get more people in? This is business. Or whether you're too, if you're too busy, or how are we going to do? But this is business, and it's about risk
Yeah.
as well, the amount of risk you want to take. And yeah, this is
Okay.
business, solving problems all the time. Even you could be really steady for a while, then something still will come along, because
Yes.
we
So
can,
it's
nothing's ever
basically about
foolproof.
the. I was more about talking about not more about business, but I was talking more about like humanity, right?
Oh,
Business
humanity.
is different, yeah. Because see, we are going for a growth. I've seen, yes, we are developing. So are we actually developing, or are we going back? This is the main question. Is, for an example, if a mobile company jumps in and makes a new product in the market, he upgrade himself. I don't want to take the name, but he upgrade himself every 6 months or every year, and people buys an upgraded version of that phone, right? And it's not just about like bucks, it's about thousands of bucks they spend into it,
Mm.
lakhs of bucks they're spending into it just for a phone, and to have an upgraded phone. And just because you have strategized your marketing in such a way that people should buy more and more, and they should replace the older one and take the new one and then take the older one. For an example, like electric business which we are in, like phones and gadgets, so there's been replaceable. So if you're using a phone after 2 years, it's like it's old, you should upgrade, right? So what you're doing is that you're exceeding the limits of the desires in people's mind. You're strategizing and you're marketing things in a way so that people should consume more and more, even though they don't need it actually, like to actual purpose. So
Yeah.
my question was that about that. I wanted to understand that how these marketing strategies affect the society on the ground level.
Yeah, well, it does, doesn't it? I think people are becoming more unhappier because they're on social media all the time, Instagram,
Yeah,
Facebook. They're always wanting more, and they're looking at other people's lives and thinking, oh, well, they've got it. I really want that. And we're comparing ourselves to others more, and we're wanting more, and we're working even harder because we want more. And that's what I think social media is doing to us. And I fall prey to that for some things as well, you know. But yeah, and because we're looking at it all the time, every day, it does. You think, oh, that looks good, you know, like, and there's so much more like apps around now that can make things look so much better. And yeah, it makes you, even like with food, I'm always scrolling at food, thinking, oh, I want that on my menu now. I want that. And there's so much there to choose from. What you want, it becomes overwhelming. It just becomes overwhelming.
This is what I'm, because you know, the people are on their phone for at least like in 20 out of 24 hours, they spend at least 8 hours over phone. On an average. This is the data, right? This is an average data. So like 1/3 of their life they're spending on a gadget, on an electric gadget, and that electric gadget is filled with desires. In basic terms, if you can say, this has nothing but desires, right? And that desire is getting fulfilled by just sitting at a home, ordering a food from here, not going out to buy a food, and to go out in a market to connect with the nature, and then have that food with your family in a different atmosphere. But now, moreover, what we are seeing in front people is that they're ordering their food at their home. It's just one click away, and then after 30 minutes, their door ring bells, and person comes in. You take the order, you go inside, and you eat, right? Without having full consciously that yes, this is what I'm earning for, right? This is what I'm living for, you know. The basics of the lives which we are. So because every person who makes money is just for the first basic three things, which is like food, and then another thing is shelter, and then the clothes to wear, right? These are the three things which I think that it's very important, not for just humankind, but for everybody. And apart from this, whatever you have in your life, it's just a luxury, or it's just a desire, or things like that. It's not a need, right? So I'm not against the desires. I'm not a person who's against the desires, but we have to set a limit, right? We have to set at least some limits. So according to you, what kind of limit you can set, you know, in having this social media life? What kind of strategies you want to give?
Well, I think so when we spoke before, you know, I said years ago when we didn't really have phones, we'd connect with a lot of people. We'd be walking down, you know, walking somewhere. We wouldn't be stuck to our phones. We'd look at nature, we'd interact, and we'd be mindful, really, weren't we? You know, we'd interact with nature. And I think people were generally more happier. But now people don't tend to build their relationships as much because they're always on their phone. They're not really looking around what's going on around them. And I think that's why many more people are struggling. I will tell you this, Akash. I know this will probably affect when you can upload this video, but currently I've just bought some phone jails. I'd read an article about it. They're like phone jails, and I'm going to have them in my restaurant where people have to they don't have to, but they can opt to put their phone in the phone jails when they have their meal with their friends or family. And I'm going to offer an incentive so that they get a small percentage off their meal if they keep their phones inside, because I think it's really important so that people can sit there and talk together. Because I know when my children will be at the dinner table, out comes the phones. I'm like, put them away. So but I'm waiting to do an article to get that released. So that's why I need to keep it hush at the moment until this is done. But this is what I've now done for my restaurant. So yeah, because it's a shame.
It's new. Yeah. It's a very good idea, I guess.
It's something very small, and I know some people may not be able to do it because of work. You know, they might need to answer their phone, emergencies, you know, for different things. But I'm going to give it a go and see what happens, you know, even if it's just a small difference. But I think that's quite important, because even for myself, I need to get off my phone more, like I suppose many of us do.
Basically, it's like, you know, if you're talking about the work-life balance, it should not be a phone, right? I've seen people, they're talking about work-life balance just because they can use their cell phones. Right? It's very basic. They're so addicted and they don't even know. And we also don't even know it somehow. It's just like a drug, any other drug. people compare work-life balance. Okay, let me again put it in the ways of an example. So a person who's working like 8 hours a day, now if they are asked to put like 1 or 2 or more 3 hours for a day for an important project or a deadline, they say that yes, their work-life balance is getting hindered in some ways. On the other hand, if they're just working for 8 hours, after going home and after things in home also, instead of sitting with the families, with your loved ones, they're again on a phone, they're chatting with the person virtually, or they're having different kind of music in their headphones, they're watching a new movie or a reels in Instagrams nowadays, like 30 seconds of cheap dopamine. I call it like, simply I call it that, because it is like that. So for like 30 seconds you're getting something to entertain, and you're so into it that you keep pushing your like thumbs again and again, scrolling down and scrolling down, things like that, and you're spending hours and hours and you don't even notice. And then you ask about work life balance. So I would see that this is more over like a hypocrite statement for the people who ask for like work life balance also, and on the other hand, for the work life balance, they don't have a life, right? And they don't even realize that they are not having their lives, they're just into the phone always. So because this is also a topic which we can talk for a day, so I'll keep it here only. Again, then my next question is, it's related with the social media, because uh, it's very important to discuss about these facts, because now we are connected just because of this one platform, right?
Yeah.
So, and we are having this quality conversation just because of that, and I'm not against to it, but on the positive sides, right, when we talk about the technology, what do you think that technology should be used for, what should be prohibited completely, and what can be tolerated? Whether it is everything, you can talk about like social media, whether it is like music or phones and things like that on working space. How do you see technology, and where do you want to specifically, promote tech stacks, or where do you want it to completely prohibit that? No, this is the one thing where you should definitely not take the technology in, and where you're saying that yeah, you can adjust and things like that.
Oh, this is such a difficult
That's
question.
tricky, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, oh, I think sometimes it does, like make our life easier, and we can get more things done in other senses. So, like, if we got to go to the bank now to put in a check, you can just do it on your phone. Things like that. That
Yeah,
that makes my life
yeah,
easier in
yeah,
some
yeah,
ways.
yeah, yeah.
But I think it's just having balance. Making sure that because you said about our basic needs: food, shelter, water. If Abraham Maslow, his name is, and then have you heard of the hierarchy of needs?
No, not specifically.
Okay, so he's got a theory, and I think there's different tiers, and they say only a few people reach the top, which is like self-fulfillment, reaching, like goals. But
Okay.
your basic needs are on the bottom, and they go higher. But then the secondary needs is like relationships with others, and that is so important. And I know we're talking now, but I suppose it is, you can build relationships, like through Tinder,
Yeah,
through different
yeah,
platforms. But I still think it's important for me. It's just the nature bit as well as like, meeting new people through going outside,
yeah,
taking a walk. I think it's having the
yeah,
relationships and bringing nature into it as well. That's so
yeah.
important.
Yeah. Because it's totally understood that with the nature you should not be having those like, but people go the mountains and they take their like home systems with them and they play music over there instead of singing. But for me, it's like technology. For us as a family also, that when we are sitting at the dinner or at the lunch, it's a completely no zone for phones. You can't use phones, because that's a place, my father has taught me this, and he is like very strict into this one part, that when you are having dinner with your family, please don't take things like that. And I completely understand now why he's so much particular about it, because that's one time you get to spend to each other, you get to know about each other. because food is not just about a food. It's about your daily curriculum, that the day when you're going to start a day, you're having a breakfast at your table, you're sitting with your family, you can discuss some very valuable outputs, that I'm going to do this today, that so maybe he can give you some valuable advice, or maybe he can talk to you something about which can cheer you up, right? So he is basically about a person who tells us that when you're having a dinner, please keep your phone side away, or
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I
So
love that. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's why I've done this thing at the restaurant, so that people aren't on their phones, because so many people come in, they're just like that, and I'm thinking that person's sitting opposite you, and you're not
Yeah.
even looking at them. That's rude. But I've done it before, so I can't sit in for.
Okay, so this is a small question, but again, I wanted to ask that on the basis of our previous question, is that when somebody, you're speaking to them in a person, not over phone, right? You're speaking to them in a person, and you sense that that person is not listening to you. You have sensed that somehow that he's distracted, or maybe he's not listening to you with the full mind and with the full mindset. How do you ensure that you get the full attention from the somebody, uh, and also in a positive manner?
Well, I'm quite open because I'm quite an extroverted person, so it's easier for me to say, "Oh,
Okay.
I'm talking to you. You're not listening to me." So I'll say, "What did I just say?" So I'll tell people, like, with me, if there's something wrong, then I feel like I need to say, "Oh, you're not listening to me," and yeah. But I know some people struggle to do that, but for me, that's easy. But for others, it's not. And if they continue to do it, I'll say, "Oh, well, we'll talk later then, because you seem really busy."
Okay. To grab the attention, it's more like an you would saying that we can directly speak about that you're not listening to me would be a right thing to do.
Yeah, I would say so. Are you listening to me? And then if they carry on doing it, say, "Look, I'd openly say, oh, I feel like you're not listening to me." I'd say it in a more diplomatic way than that, but I'd say, "Oh, I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
listening to me. Do you want to talk about this later if you're busy?" But nicely, not so abrupt. But I say that. I say it to my friends quite a lot. Yeah.
No, no, no. I totally get that. And it's just about the perspective. I wanted to know about the perspective, that whether being transparent about this kind of thing, because here, when you're speaking to somebody, I think it's more over an authority, not just an authority in a negative way, but there should be an authority when you're speaking to somebody, and it should be that relevant that the other person is actually listening to you.
I think it
And I
shows
do.
disrespect. I do think it's very disrespectful, and I think I suppose people it depends on the situation and who someone's talking to, doesn't it? Like, if you've how much respect. If it's a friend, you might think, "Oh, they won't mind, they're just my friend." Whereas if it's a boss or a manager, you're not going to ignore them and be rude, because I
Yeah,
think people will
yeah.
do it depending on the person and what they know they can get away with.
Yes, totally, totally. I totally understood. And I totally so uh what happens is, let's just shift towards about the explanation about the communication part, right? So if a person who is completely an introvert, right, but he's a main person for any project or any task which has been given, he is a quite experienced, he know how to do things, he might be not being able to communicate that idea with you because he's an introvert, right? So what happens is that an introvert person who is doing all work, right, and in the end of the meeting or at the end of the agenda with the client, there is a different person who is giving the ideologies of an introvert person, right, all by himself. And that person sometimes, because I've seen a lot of people about that, because I've seen this problem, that an introvert who has been into any task or any team, they don't get the credit for their work because they don't speak for themselves, they don't speak a lot. And so what do you see as a picture, like for a person who is who is an introvert, specifically not an extrovert, was an introvert, and but he's doing very good if it is about a work, how he should deal, how he should come in front, how he should show people that yes, I am also a worth person and I'm doing things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's different, isn't it? Because, like you say, some people that are introverted, that everyone's got their own gifts, and I think whatever their gift, you know, if they're using that gift. So if you're introverted but you're good on computers, then if you know, and you enjoy it, then, and that's your gift, then that's what you're going to do. But I think that I don't think introvert people can always turn to extrovert. You know, I think that's quite an innate thing in many people. Not all. I know, you know, people can be quiet when they're young, and then, you know, then they're really loud when they're older. I've seen that. But then some people generally have that personality type throughout their life. And I think for people that are quite introvert, I think one-on-one is very important, like having someone like a line manager, someone above them, to be able to express, you know, or to talk to one-on-one, because some people don't like talking in big groups, so long as they're getting heard on a one-to-one, and then that can then be fed through a bigger group or a bigger meeting. But I think everybody needs to be heard, whether they're introverted, extroverted, and also valued for what they are actually doing.
Yes, totally agree on to this, because it's a very important thing for the people. You know, every person is contributing into a success, and I think that everybody should get credit for that, right?
Yes.
So having things properly checked with your team and with your teammates should be the main focus for you, right? And you're
sorry,
good
Akash,
to...
it's just someone's at my door, my son. I've just had to let him in. Apologies, I didn't. You were chatting then. So sorry.
No, not an issue though. It's completely fine for us.
Sorry, Akash, that was my son at the door. Sorry.
No, not at all, my friend. Let's speak something about more into terms of the authenticity of a person, right?
Okay.
So as we were talking about an introvert person, and he's more authentic in terms of his work and things like that, right? As a leader, what is your take for a person? You have a team of people, and you have different type of people in a group, right? You're promoting each and everybody. As a leader, what should be the thing can a leader take to, you know, keep equality while distributing based on their efforts?
Well, what was that last bit? I didn't hear that.
I'm asking that in terms of equality, right? In terms of team, you have a team, you want it to be equal with each and everybody, but also you want it to distribute the I would say perks, or I would say the attention or credit, right? Because if we give equal to each and everybody, so the person who is working the hardest will be demotivated very easily, right? So how do you keep in check the equality and fairness?
Okay.
These are two attributes in a team which you have to maintain. So how do you maintain that?
Okay, so I do, for me, this is probably different because this is a lot smaller level, but I'll see, like, we'll speak about in our group what we least like doing, what we most like doing, and you'll find that some people, the jobs that people least like, well, what I might least like to do is what someone might love doing. So we try and, you know, delegate certain roles, certain jobs, what they like doing, what they're good at, and it sort of works like that. So everyone has, you know, I know we have to do some jobs we don't really like, but we try and minimize it. But yeah, it's just about delegating different roles for different people, seeing what they like doing, what they want to do more of. It's just about, again, communication, open and honest communication.
Because as a like a project manager, or as a like a manager, or as a like a leader, you know, it happens with the teammates, specifically when you're managing a big team, or maybe let's say that you're managing people like 100 of people at the same time. You cannot give attentions to all of them at once, right? You can't give it. So for that, you have to have a hierarchy. You have to have leaders who can work under you and who can take care of those people, who can have those personalized meetings with them. And it is very important, because if you wanted to grow big along, as we talked about, like the sustainability and potential growth, it's very important to take each and everybody forward and put that as a work. And it's a very difficult and messy, or I would say the most dirtiest things in the world to manage somebody, because you're the one who's going to criticize for everything, right? Whether it is a right decision or whether it is a wrong decision, but you will be always be criticized by some or the other team member. Because if you give somebody credit to some, there would be a person who is not be happy with you, right? There are always these kind of things.
Yeah, so that does happen. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because It's always it is. You're not going to be perfect for each and everybody. You're not going to be perfect for everyone all the time. There would be some person who will be very happy with your decision, and there would be some person who are like extremely unhappy, and they would say that, this is just another kind of partiality, and they dwell into it, and they make an I would say mindset, right? That this person has a different mindset than ours, and maybe he's not a right person. He is discriminating between the team members, right? So when I imagine, when I am with my team, what I specifically like do is that if I'm giving somebody credit, because I'm a very authentic and a very honest person, right? For me, it's not about the person who is coming to me most. No, it's about who is giving the most to the team, who is contributing the most to the team, not just in terms of work, but in terms of like support, in terms of creating positive environment, in terms of putting their intent, whether if like the performance is not coming. Specifically, if I like have to share one of my own experience, I have promoted a person who has not done the target side, right, the revenue side, because I'm a person who is from business development and sales. So my main work is to promote those people who are getting revenue for the company. But especially as a leader, I am the person, I have given the best member of a team award to those person who has not get the highest revenue, but he has held a lot of member in a team to gain to the basic level. So he is not promoted himself. So I am a that kind of person who promotes attribute moreover on a skill. So if you're a skilled person, it's a very good thing, but I always prefer attributes. I always prefer intent, this because this is the thing which is going to work for the long term. Maybe a person who is very good with the skills, he'll get the revenue, he'll get the incentive, he'll get the money for that, right? But it's very good to have those members also. But the people who are with you, who are doing the groundwork, not coming in front, they're doing things from back, and because of that they're not being able to perform at full of their potential, because they're a lot involved in a lot of other activities, whether it is like a team grooming or other stuffs. There are a lot of stuffs. So I've specifically always have taken people who are more or intentional rather than being a performer. So for me, it's like that. I wanted to know your perspective. Like, how do you think about this?
Yeah, I think, but if someone's not performing as well, you need to see what's going wrong, don't we? Or what can they do better, or is there something that they feel they could do better? What they think that is going wrong? Do you know what I mean? Or is there something they can do better? But I think, someone can have the skill set but be nicking from you. Do you know what I mean? They could be getting high targets but then be dishonest, and then you could have someone who's honest, it's not quite up to scratch. But yeah, everyone's got different qualities in different ways. But I just think just figuring out how you get someone to be able to reach their potential to then, to get more productive. And I think that's all about asking the person and seeing what's going on and what things you can do to make better, rather than again going to the individual. What system can you put in place to ensure the person can progress more?
Totally get it. So it's like a second and last question. I'm not going to take a long very time, and we have concluded a lot of questions, and I think that this is the valuable for the people. Today the questions are even more authentic, which I've seen. So before like bringing this up to an end, I wanted to ask you a very complex, a real life based situation. Okay. I'm not going to name any person. I'm not going to name who it is, right? You'll get to know, but a person, right? So who is dealing with, I would say, a personal disimbalance, right? Also is dealing with his working professional life. And also he's a spiritual person, as you said that you're also you're meditating, and he's also a spiritual person. He is meditating a lot. He meditates, he works, but now these all three aspects of the life is completely disembalanced, right? Not because the more he meditates, the more he goes into the darkness instead of coming into the brightness, because of the situation from the life, right? The personal life is not working, maybe it's relationship, right? Maybe relationship with your partner. So you're going through background with your partner. At the same time, you are not being able to manage your work life expectancies from people. Also at the meditation side, you're seeing yourself, you're like awakened, you're having different thoughts. So because if you're a spiritual person, you will also connect with me on this, that for an hour you're feeling very static, you're feeling very energetic, and after an hour you're feeling very dull, you're feeling very fearful, you're feeling very like dishonest and things like that. You have questions, you have guilt, you have a lot of anger. So these mood swings, it happen in an hour, in a day. It
Mm.
happens. It happens with me as well. So again, I'm very sorry I took my name. So
And
so it
me, I think,
happens.
and me, I've had it too. You know, I think we all go through seasons when we're up and down.
So again, it's not about me. It's about a scenario. But it is. So it is life. Sometimes life throws a lot at you. It throws a lot at you, and you can't even imagine about it. What sort of advice do you have for that person who's not like financially stable at this moment? Okay, because of his mental, because all of this thing we're talking about, it's all about the psychology, right? So the person who is like financially destabilized, yeah, he used to earn, but at this moment he's not being able to focus financially, he's not been able to focus its relationship, its marriage, and he's not been able to focus on his personal inner peace. How this dysfunction of all of the things coming together at a person, how he should deal with that?
I think it's important to ask, how can this person be able to, or ask the person, how can they be able to focus? Instead of like, why are they not? How can you focus? Not saying
Yeah,
you, Akash, but for me as well. I I read a lot, and for me, I pray a lot, and I just have to have faith that things are going to be all right in the
yeah,
end. And I have been
yeah,
through some terrible times, financial difficulty, even, you know, periods in my life now, you know, when it's really, really difficult. But
yeah,
it's just having
yeah.
faith that, you know, I may be going for a season of struggle, but I just have to keep going, because I feel like I've got a great purpose in me, and that life is very difficult for people at times, but it's just also having people around me that are very positive and that push you forward, because you can be around people
Oh,
that can just pull you
yeah,
down. But for me, having
yeah,
different people around me to push me up is so important, saying,
yeah,
come on, Danielle, you know, it's a new day tomorrow.
yeah.
But having them people in your life is critical, you know, for them
Just
to
like
keep
you have done with me at the last time, when we
yeah,
last
and just
you texted
having
me. Yeah,
yeah, and having relationships with people that push you up, you know, that say, come
yeah,
on, it'll be all right. It'll be, because, you know, life's a journey, but everything does always work out in the end. And it is hard at times, and we go through loss, we go through rejection, and this is part of life. And I found stuff like that very difficult. Like, I've been through rejection in my life, loss, and but
okay,
this
when
is,
it was the last time when you faced this kind of, I'm just asking out of curiosity,
oh, what,
like when was the last time?
what, the
uh,
last time I felt,
yeah, particular situation where we are talking about, a lot of thing has come. When exactly did you face this situation? Like, I
oh,
wanted to know.
well, through my,
Any example, live example you want to share? It
there's so
would be
many,
very
like,
helpful for the people.
some months I've not been able to pay my bills, and I've been in a bit of debt, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get by tomorrow? How am I going to make it till next week? And
Oh,
but it's having faith that I'll, you know, that I'll get through. And also through marital breakdown, I went through a very difficult period, knowing that, oh gosh, I'm on my own, you know, and but there's always people around to support people wherever, you know, they may be, and they will, you know, we can find people anywhere, through churches, through community groups, but having people around you that are very positive and that push you is crucial. Relationships are critical.
yeah, yeah. It hits me very hard, first of all, the way you said it. And yes, it is actually like that, because I've also felt like that too. And I've also been into this situation, and I am very fortunate that I have a family who supports me a lot, right? Who is actually with me in these particular phase, or in that particular, or whatever phase that we goes in, right? So And it actually has hit me very hard. You know, having people around you who can support you during this time is like a complete blessing. It's a very, it's a blessing. But you know, for unfortunately for a lot of people, they don't have, right? They are living out of cities, they are living in a new city, and they are dealing with a lot, and they have their family, they call them in the night, and you know, because you're living far from them, you can't share what you're going through. You don't want it to make them tensed, and that is why sometimes we take like those emotions inside of us, let that bear and bear and bear, and one day it's like boom, it's all out. So I know it's for any person who is like dealing with this kind of thoughts at this moment. I think that the answer you have given, that will hit everybody very hard, to have those people. So if you are into this phase, especially, you should be having surrounded with the people who supports you, because that is how I move forward, that is how I guess you have also moved forward, and that is why you've been able to so easily like, I'm totally flat here. I'm sold out with this answer, because it's very common, it's very basic, but it's very difficult to have those people, you know.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to find those people around you.
I
And
don't
I
know
think,
what it's like where you live, but here we have different community groups and different, like, we have a charity called the Samaritans where you can just ring people, people you don't know, and I don't know what support systems you have where you're from, Akash, but there are different things, but we don't always know about. But I think with online now, even on Facebook, you can get groups. If you're feeling a bit down, you can just connect with people on there through text.
oh yeah,
It's just finding it, and if you don't know about it, you don't know, but there is lots of different options. But I'm not sure there is here in the UK. I'm not sure other places, but yeah, like I always say as well, I've got customers that come in. I'm like, oh, you know where I am if you
yeah,
need
I wanted to
anything.
say that. I actually wanted to say that. So let's just little bit promote like Danielle. So Danielle is actually dealing with a lot of people who deal with anxiety, who deal with like emotional disimbalance. She helps a lot of people. You know, she has already helped a lot of people who are dealing with this kind of things. And it's not a promotion, it's an actual advice that whoever you wanted to speak with, Danielle is there to help you out. And you can share your problems, like life problems or whatever things are,
Yeah.
because I'm saying this from my personal experience, because now I know Daniel from a very long time, because last time when we spoke, it's almost about a week since we had shared the stage and we shared like few texts or calls and things like that. But now after knowing you for a month, even though our one of the recording was not even recorded, but she was so sweet, she was so kind, she understood that yeah, it might happen, and it was all my mistake, but she took up so gracefully, and that has changed my mind also. And I'm very true into this. As I also said in the podcast also, that I'm an honest person, I speak very honest. So that made me change my mind that yeah, this person is amazing. If you're doing mistakes and still the other person is appreciating you, and not just appreciating you from far away, no, he is actually acknowledging you, acknowledging your problems, acknowledging where you stand, acknowledging about the kind of situation that you're in, and based on that he asks, rather than just being telling people, he asks that uk and things like that. I mean, this kind of things works when people ask real questions from you, you get the real answers, and this is how, you know, you get the help. This is how you can speak. So anybody who is, you know, dealing with a lot at this moment can speak to Daniel right away, and she'll be there to help you as well, just like she has helped mine.
No.
So it's been, yeah, it's been again, I would say, a fantastic conversation with you, Daniel. And
Yeah.
how likely you wanted to rate this from your end, I wanted to ask. How
Sorry.
did you enjoy how did you enjoy this conversation which we had
Oh, I really
last
enjoyed
time?
it. And like you said, I'm not perfect. I'll just try my best. And we're all learning and we all learn from everyone. But I think the main important thing is being there for people and knowing that you give them positivity, you know, and
Yeah,
give them hope. People need hope. People need faith. And if you spoke to me 3 years back, I was in a place where I was really struggling. I thought, oh, there's no end in sight. I felt like I'd lost everything, but I just had to persevere. And I think we're put on this earth to help other people. And if we're still alive and breathing now, then we're here for others. And I think we have to be really grateful of what we've got. I stumbled across a group when I was in a really difficult place. And there was people on there that were a lot worse off than me. And I thought, you know, I've got to be grateful for what I got. I'm still breathing. I should be blessed. I wake up this morning, and I have to keep telling myself, be grateful for what I have, not what I haven't. And yeah, be there for others. That's really important, because I had loads of people come on my path, and you never know what's around the corner. Life's a mystery. You don't know what's to come, and you know, life can change. You could be the same in life for a few weeks, and it could change in a split second. Your life can change in a split second.
And even if you don't change, things around you will change, right?
Yeah, and it does. Nothing stays the same. Sometimes, you know, if we're unhappy somewhere, we may have to change in us. Some things we can change, but some things are out of our control. But we never know what's around the corner, and we don't stay sad forever, you know. And things change, but we have to I have to keep learning. Do you know? It's a learning journey. Life's a learning journey. But long as we're there, you know, helping others, that's really important.
Yes. And, you know, changing mindset is not difficult at all. It's not difficult. You just have to rewire your brain systems again, back, putting place the things which you're following, that these are not working. And just as we talk about like changing mindset, I wanted to remind people that they should not take advice, because this is the biggest myth, right? I wanted to talk about that. They take advice from the people who are succeeded in the life. They don't take advice from the failures. They don't take advice from the people who have failed. And I would say, for the humankind, you should take advice from the people who has failed a lot instead of who has succeeded, because a person who has succeeded will only tell you that what you should do, right? But if you talk to a person who has failed a lot, because success is just nothing, it's just a materialistic thing, right? At one point you achieve something and then you move on. You don't have anything. You have to move ahead, and for that, failure is very important, and embracing failure is very important. You know, having that badge, because especially in India, where the place where I come from, here the people, when the people goes wrong, right? I know in West people take failure as an honor of a badge, right? But in India, if you do something wrong, people started judging you. Hey, you shouldn't have done that. See, that person is doing very good. And specifically in India, it's about like Sharma ji ka ladka. Okay, in Hindi we say. So every Indian parent, okay, so every Indian parent who is there, there is a one person, Sharma ji ka ladka means Sharma ji's son. Surname as we use as Sharma. These are like Pandits, so whatever it is. So we use this metaphor for every person, for every student. Every dad used to use this. See that Sharma's son, what he is doing in his life. He's doing so incredible. He's taking top grades. So yeah, he is, but that doesn't have to do anything with my life. You can't be compare yourself. But in India, it's a very I would say it's a huge problem with people. And that is why, you know, I've seen a lot of complexities now in people, because the competence is very high. Every parent, every person wanted to be at the top. And when they wanted to be at the top, they don't want to embrace their self as a failure. But what they wanted to do is that instead of, you know, giving more effort towards their success, they give more attention toward making other people fail. Right. So that's where I guess that things needs to be changed. And for that, it's very important that you should take advice from people who have failed a lot, not who have succeeded.
Yeah, but I think that people who do fail learn from that, and then they end up doing something else. So they're succeeding in some way, but in something else. So I think it's about resilience.
Yeah.
Me, it's been about resilience. It's about resilience. And you know, when you said about grades, you know, we get taught when I went to uni, or, you know, you get taught to go to uni, you have to have good grades. Some people don't even go to uni, and they end up really good businessmen, and, you know, they've learned a lot, on business women. And I just think it's about what your gifts are and using your own gifts. Like, to succeed in life for yourself. You're on your own journey, aren't you? You're not competing against everybody else, because everybody else got their unique scripts, but it's about you and how you can do better for yourself. So if you fail at something, what can you do different, or what, it's just a learning curve.
Yeah, totally. So it was an amazing talk which happened, and in the end also we speak a lot of authenticity in this particular podcast. We spoke about how transparency can help people. We spoke about how leadership can change things, and how right leadership can take you to the new heights, and how the wrong leader puts in the place can you know make things very bad. So it's all about the mindset, it's all about the psychology again, and I am very keen about bringing new topics to you in our further podcast, talking you more about different things on psychology. And I'm really looking forward to it, because I've seen a very genuine answers from your end. So this is all that we are gonna end it here. But before we end, I wanted to make it very light. So for that, we will play a game. So I'll ask you like two questions. As a last we've done that.
Okay.
Last time it was different last time. So now it would be different. Okay. So I wanted to ask Daniel, would you choose? So you have to choose in between these two, right? You know the drill. So would you choose an headphone inside your room, having a blanket on in a winter, right? Or would you prefer high loudspeakers?
Headphones or speakers? I don't like wearing headphones. So me as speakers, I don't like headphones, and I love music, but headphones, I wouldn't want to wear headphones. No, I'd rather speakers.
Yeah. Because headphones, brings you in the moment. You are not disconnected from the nature.
Oh, they annoy me. Yeah, I'd rather the speaker. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to spend time at the sea having a beer, or do you want to spend time at mountain having a cold water, breeze water, or maybe something else for refreshing yourself?
No, me, the beach. I love the beach, and I live right
I
near
knew
the
that.
sea. And I love the sound of the sea. It's really calming, and I love it. But that's me. I'm a sea person, not a mountain person.
Yeah. And for the people, let me tell you, I'm the kind of person who's from the mountains. So I like to go at the mountain. I like seas, but I'm a moreover person who's at the mountain. So yes, again, the next question I wanted to ask, would you prefer, I'm asking about on the side of food, right? So I would be very specific. What kind of food Daniel likes? Italian or Mexican?
Italian. I prefer Italian to Mexican food.
Okay. And would Daniel rather choose a person who is more over intellectual, or Daniel will choose a person who is more handsome and more good looking and charming physically? Okay, I know it's a bit personal, but this is what we wanted to know as a
Can I not have
psychological.
both? Just both. Just both.
No. So what do you prefer? Do you prefer sense of humor, or do you prefer physique?
Oh, sense of humor. Yeah, they've got to entertain me. So, I'm single now. I've been single a while, and I've met some men that very handsome, but they've spoke to me, and I thought there's nothing in common. And I think it takes two. It depends on two personalities and like a connection. That's
you can't get that too. As last time also we spoke about this. You can't cheat. You have to take one at least, right? So it's about one. This game is about one. You can't combine.
Okay, I'm trying to be greedy, aren't I? No, they've got they've a sense of humor for me. Got to have a sense of humor and connect with my personality. There's got to be personality there that interacts with mine.
Okay. And the last question I wanted to ask: does Daniel prefer one-on-one conversation with person? It's not about office. Okay, it's about the personal life. Okay, so does Daniel likes to be with one person at a time, or does Daniel likes to be in a group? What do you prefer? Do you prefer these quality times, or do you prefer quality times with your friends and a groups and things like
that? Oh, this is difficult because depends if I'm helping someone or not. So if it's for social, then yeah, I like to be in a group. But if it's
No, it's
say
about you. It's only about you.
okay, for me, I like to be in a
I
group.
guess
I
I
like to.
confused you here.
It's hard because it depends on the situation. It's very
Yeah, yeah,
hard.
yeah, yeah. Because
Mm,
for me, it's like I used to be that person in the very early of my age when I was a teenager. I was starting out. I was a very extrovert person. I used to hang around in teams. I used to hang around in group. I like to hang around in group. I don't like to sit with one person only at a time and having quality conversation. But now I am a person who's completely different. Okay, so now
mm,
I'm not that person who wants to go in a group and speak to a lot of people. No, I want that one person in my life who I can have this quality conversation. So right now it's for me. If you'll ask, it's just about like two-person also, but there should be quality in that. So for you, I wanted to ask you, like, it's at the current mood. It's not about past, it's about now.
no. Oh, um, yeah, one on one. No,
Yeah,
probably, but used
yeah,
to be
yeah.
group. I do love still have. I still like both, But if I had to
Hmm.
pick, um,
One.
oh, I don't know. Actually, oh, this is very difficult
So we have already confused Danielle a lot
because
here.
if there's a subject I want to talk
Yeah,
about, I like all different people's answers and like just I like to see where different people are coming from. When there's just two of you,
yeah,
it's really
yeah,
got two
yeah.
different perspectives. Whereas, yeah, it's difficult. Difficult.
Yeah, it's as long as it is giving you inner peace, it's totally good, right? Because sometimes like you feel very crowded. Like for me, it is like that. You feel very crowded in the place when you're with the group also. Because what happens is why I asked this particular question is because when you're in a group, there are people not in terms of, we are not talking about work and meetings and things like that, but in a general meeting, like general reunion, or we are having a party and now we have invited a lot of people into that party. So now what is happening is that the one big group is divided into so many subgroups, and now each and everybody has their own way of communicating things, and they are all different places. So what I get to see is, even though if you're in a long place, what you will find in that crowded place is that you will end up with that one person only in that party or things like that, because you're not going to get into people all the time. You just need that one. So for me it's like that. For you, okay, maybe like when the next podcast will come, I'll ask this question again. Maybe on that time you would be much I would say not prepared, but it's about you, it's about people. You can be a person who's like likes to have both. It's not a problem, it's a choice. So yes. So Daniel, before we move ahead, do you have anything to say to our audience when it gets live? What would you want to share people about working professionals specifically?
About what? Sorry.
I'm asking that before we end this up, what message do you want to give to working professionals?
Oh, I think just encourage everyone around you, really. No matter
Yeah,
where you are in your job or what position you're in, we're all as equal as one another.
yeah,
And everyone's opinion should be heard, no matter what level they're at professionally.
yeah,
And everyone
yeah.
should feel safe to be able to have an opinion as well.
Okay, okay. That's answer completely, and that's a complete answer. There's nothing which needs to be added into it. So yes, Daniel, it was again, I would say, uh, very good time in terms of like quality conversation, in terms of getting some of my personal answers too, to get into a life, because it would be very helpful for me. And you have been a very kind person from the very start, and I wanted to again thank you, thank you, and thank Josh also, who's on the back screen now. At the time, he is also a person who has helped me a lot, a lot. Right now, I last time when it was not recorded, I went to him directly and speak to him, and it was not recorded what went wrong. So he'll help me out on a ground basis. And when we are talking about psychology, when we are talking about leadership, I think that it's very important to give credit to Joshua, what he's doing. You also know him, I guess, from LinkedIn. He's doing something very important for the people that people are not even realized. But for me, I'm coming from an I would say unreserved community, because no one has heard my voice, and he has that voice, as you said also, that everyone should be heard, right? So he has actually given me this chance to be, speak and to get heard. So again, Josh, it's thank you so much. You're very lovely. You're a very good person, and I love you, brother. So we're gonna end it up here. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care, Daniel.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
nice.
Take care.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye bye.